I stood near the railing of the Oculus penthouse, the wind from Lake Michigan making my silk gown ripple slightly. It was 6 p.m., 4 hours until the Aegis Design Group announcement party was in full swing. 4 hours until Arthur Sterling, our CEO, named me the youngest senior partner in firm history. Below me, the lights of Chicago were starting to come on. A grid of promise. This wasn't just a party, it was validation. 3 years of 80-hour weeks, weekends spent drafting revisions, meticulously planning every stress-tested joint and sustainable material selection for this firm. It was all for this moment, and more importantly, for the thick, heavy envelopes tucked into my small clutch. One envelope held the documents for Mom and Dad's retirement, enough to purchase that little cottage in coastal South Carolina they always talked about. Enough to finally stop Dad from pretending he was consulting and start actually living. The other held the acceptance letter and first semester payment for Chloe to attend the prestigious New York School of Photography, her dream. I wanted them seated at the head table tonight, positioned right next to Arthur, smiling proudly. Because if I gave them everything they ever wanted, if I physically presented them with their dreams, surely they would finally see my success as a shared victory, a reason to be truly proud of me, not just of what I could provide. My phone buzzed, followed immediately by another buzz, a financial alert. My stomach plummeted before I even opened the screen. American Express supplementary card ending in 6629 charged $3,150 at the Oasis Resort. Transaction approved. Before I could breathe, the second notification arrived, a text from Mom. "Clara, we simply can't make it. Chloe is having a terrible allergy flare-up and needs a quiet, low-stress environment to recover immediately. So sorry, sweetheart. You know we support you." I reread the messages, the phrases colliding violently in my head. The Oasis Resort. I knew that place. It's an indoor water park in Lake Geneva, a 3-hour drive, famous for its neon lights, pounding reggaeton music, and a chlorine smell thick enough to choke on. A low-stress environment? My lawyer's brain, trained for dissection and logic, immediately went to work. Chloe needed quiet meditation for an allergy flare-up, but the $3,150 charge went through at 5:45 p.m. They'd been there for hours, meaning they knew they weren't coming well before the charge was authorized. They waited until they were safely checked in and the money was spent to send the text, ensuring I couldn't cancel the charge or freeze the card. This wasn't an emergency. This was premeditated contempt. The betrayal was a physical ache, not over the money. I'd spent more bailing Chloe out of rent trouble last month, but over the calculated indifference. They'd used my money to finance a tacky, loud 3-hour road trip to celebrate not having to spend an evening celebrating my life's biggest achievement. They chose the Oasis over the Oculus. "Miss Vance?" I spun around. Philippe, the event manager, stood there, his expression carefully neutral but his eyes holding a familiar flicker of pity. He'd watched me hover over the family table, adjusting the orchid centerpieces for the past hour. "Should we clear the head table setup? I can move the flowers to the main bar." I looked at the 5 empty chairs positioned prominently where Arthur Sterling would give his toast. If the CEO saw me alone at the most crucial moment of my career, it wouldn't be a sign of dedication, it would be a flashing warning sign. Successful, but isolated. No roots, no real personal life, a woman who sacrificed everything and was left with nothing but a title. I would not cry. I clenched my fists until my nails bit into my palms. "No," I said, my voice steady. "Keep the setup exactly as it is, the most magnificent arrangement you have. But please, remove the 'reserved for the Vance family' sign. Completely." Philippe's head tilted slightly, understanding dawning on his face. "Understood, Miss Vance. Right away." As he walked away, I pulled up my banking app. The transaction details were sickeningly specific. The Oasis Resort, $3,150. Platinum VIP private cabana rental, $1,500. Tidal Wave alcohol package, 12 units, $1,200. Resort exclusive DJ request fee, $450. 12 alcohol packages, a private DJ. This wasn't allergy relief. This was a party celebrating their escape from me. Chloe wasn't having an allergy attack. She was chugging bright blue cocktails on my dime, probably surrounded by her unemployed influencer friends. I felt the cold realization settle over me. The hurt was being replaced by pure, crystalline rage. She was screaming over the thumping music. Hashtag escape the architect. Vibes only. Thanks for the card, sis. She blew a kiss at the camera. I watched the video, the contempt hardening inside me until it felt like polished obsidian. We weren't in the same world anymore. Maybe we never had been. Class versus trash. I forwarded the story link to my former professor and called her. Aunt Eleanor? There at the Oasis, Mom said Chloe needs a quiet place to heal from an allergy attack. Aunt Eleanor's voice, sharp and authoritative, even at 70, crackled over the line. The Oasis? That glorified petri dish? Clara, I taught high school history in this city for 40 years. I know every dive bar and tacky resort where students tried to sneak in. That woman has the taste of a barn owl. Despite everything, I smiled. I'm coming. Don't you dare cry over people who choose plastic flamingos over their daughter's triumph. I'm wearing the Navy power suit, the one that makes me look like I own the place. You need an anchor of substance tonight. I'll be there in an hour. She hung up. I stood tall, pocketed my phone, and looked out at the Chicago skyline. I wouldn't be standing here alone tonight. I just needed to decide who would stand with me. The elevator dinged, and Marcus, my executive assistant, emerged first, followed by a nervous cluster of 3 junior architects, Chen, Davis, and Almras. They were all sharply dressed, but they looked utterly bewildered by the sudden summons to the partner-level Oculus penthouse. Clara? Marcus approached cautiously. We were just downstairs grabbing a preliminary drink. What happened? You sound... I cut him off by handing him my phone. Watch this. Marcus watched Chloe's Instagram story, the neon lights, the slurred "thanks for the card, sis," the deafening music. His expression shifted from confusion to cold fury in seconds. He handed the phone back, jaw tight. That's inexcusable. Where are they? Chen, the newest architect, finally asked. They are at a themed water park resort 3 hours away, celebrating the fact that they aren't here. I pulled myself up to my full height, the anger lending me an unnerving calm. So, the head table is empty, but it won't be for long. Marcus, Chen, Davis, Almas. Tonight, you are my family. You will sit at the head table, you will drink the good champagne, you will work the room like you own it. You will be here because you chose to be here. They stared at me, dumbstruck. Then a slow, almost revolutionary smile spread across Marcus's face. Their loss is definitely our gain, he murmured, looking at the prestigious seating. I nodded. Exactly. Philippe? The event manager reappeared instantly. I need this table reset for 6, and I need the settings to be even more impressive than before. I want this to look intentional, a display of strength, not a last-minute replacement. Philippe smiled genuinely this time. Magnificent, Miss Vance. It shall be done. While my team dispersed, energized by their unexpected promotion, I opened my banking app. 3 years of documentation. Every wire transfer to Gary and Deborah, every supplementary card statement, every deposit for Chloe's Williamsburg apartment, which she filled with thrifted furniture and ring lights for her photography business that somehow had fewer paying clients than followers. I pulled up my calculator. Rental guarantee, $4,200 per month. Supplementary card minimums and emergency transfers. I added up every transaction, every moment I had tried to buy their presence, their affection, their approval. The final number glowed on the screen. $254,000. $250,000 invested not into a home, not into my retirement, but into 3 fully grown adults who preferred a pool party to my greatest achievement. At 7 p.m., Eleanor Vance swept in. She was a masterclass in quiet authority. Navy St. John suit, a single strand of perfect pearls, her eyes sharp and assessing. She took one look at the head table, now set with crystal and personalized menus for my team, and nodded. A beautiful pivot, Clara. You've replaced the foundation of sand with concrete. She then spent the next hour charming the firm's most influential clients and partners' wives, but my stomach was still twisted, waiting for the managing partner. Arthur Sterling arrived exactly at 8 p.m. He was 70, old school, a man who gave lectures at Northwestern about holistic success and the importance of family balance. He greeted me with a firm handshake, his gaze immediately drifting toward the head table. Clara, this is an incredible turnout. I was hoping to finally meet the famous Vance family. Your file mentions them as your primary motivation. Where are they? The air froze. I could feel the weight of his expectations. The truth was humiliation. A lie was unthinkable. Before I could stumble through an answer, Aunt Eleanor materialized beside me, her voice cutting through the soft jazz like a honed knife. Good evening, Mr. Sterling. I'm Eleanor Vance, Clara's great-aunt, former dean of admissions at the University of Chicago, and the person who actually taught this young woman that excellence is a commitment, not a convenience. Sterling, clearly surprised, took her hand. A pleasure, Miss Vance. Her parents, Eleanor continued, her tone dismissive, are dealing with an unfortunate scheduling conflict that required their immediate attention. However, Mr. Sterling, I want to clarify something. Ava's parents may have contributed her bloodline, but I forged her integrity. If you're looking for the source of her professional excellence, you are looking right at it. Sterling stared at her for a beat, then he burst out laughing, a genuine, delighted sound that made heads turn. Miss Vance, that is the finest defense I have heard all year. You're absolutely right. The fruit of the vine, indeed. You're lucky to have her, Clara. He clapped me on the shoulder and moved on. The crisis was averted, thanks to the only person who showed up. My phone vibrated. A live Instagram notification. Chloe. Against my better judgment, I clicked it. The video was shaky. Chloe, clearly inebriated, was screaming to the camera. Best night ever, no boring architect talk, no stiff people, just vibes. Thanks for the credit card, sis. You're the best ATM ever. The comments were already pouring in. I pocketed the phone. The word ATM echoing in my mind. That was all I was to them, an automated teller machine. My moment had arrived. I walked to the podium. Thank you all for being here tonight. I began, letting the surprise in the crowd settle. Honestly, 4 hours ago, I almost canceled. I received a message that my family needed to deal with an emergency, that they needed to go heal. I paused, pulling out my phone and holding it up. But then I saw the evidence. A $3,150 charge at a resort, 12 alcohol packages, a private DJ. And I saw the live stream of my sister partying, using my money, celebrating not being here. The silence was deafening. And I looked around at all of you and I realized something important. This position, this partnership, isn't about bloodline. It's about vision. It's about who chooses to show up. Marcus was the first to clap, followed by Chen, Davis, and Almas. Then the whole room erupted in applause. I sat down, spotting a woman at a nearby table, a local culture blogger, who had her phone angled toward me. She was recording. Perfect. The blogger, I realized, was the woman I'd seen recording. She had edited my composed speech about bloodline versus vision and the elegant Oculus setting with jarring cuts to Chloe's drunk livestream at the Oasis, the neon, the cheap plastic cups, the screaming. The contrast was devastating. The comments were relentless. Who misses a partner announcement? Are they insane? That sister has the class level of a sewer rat. Team Clara. Imagine paying $250K for that kind of disrespect. I let my mom's calls go to voicemail twice. When the text started flooding in, Clara, call me now. This is serious. Your father is hysterical. How could you humiliate us? And Chloe's frantic, Eva, take this down. I have anxiety. Everyone is being mean to me in the comments. I knew I had won the public battle. I screenshotted the messages, then I texted Marcus. Morning. Can you come in an hour early? Need the blue folder printed and ready. His reply was instant. Already here. Saw the video. Blue folder with every single transaction ready. Industrial grade paper shredder being delivered to your apartment this afternoon. You're going to need it. I smiled, poured my $40 a pound coffee, and finally answered my mother's third call. Clara, thank God. That horrible woman needs to take that video down. Your father's golfing friends are texting him. I didn't post the video, Mom. An independent blogger did. I took a sip of coffee. Why would I make her take it down? Because it's ruining us. This is family business, Clara. You can't air this online. Mom, I said calmly, you chose a $3,150 resort party over my promotion. You lied about an allergy emergency. Chloe live-streamed herself calling me an ATM. Those are the facts being aired. Bank records don't lie. Video evidence doesn't lie. You're upset because people are pointing out that your behavior was objectively classless. How dare you call us classless, she shrieked, after everything we've done for you? I have supported you for 3 years, and last Friday, you used that support to fund a party celebrating not having to see me. I paused. We need a family meeting. Come to my apartment next Saturday, 7 p.m. You, Dad, and Chloe. I have something I want to give you. A late gift. The word gift performed its magic. Immediately. Her tone shifted from hysterical rage to cautious interest. A gift? What kind of gift? You'll see on Saturday. It's important that we discuss it in person. Can you make it? Or do you have another emergency planned? We'll be there, she said stiffly. 7 p.m. Perfect. The week crawled by. I ignored their calls and worked, closing the biggest contract of the quarter. I reviewed Marcus's meticulously prepared blue folder. Every lease guarantee, every emergency transfer, every frivolous charge. Friday evening, the industrial paper shredder arrived. I set it up in the dining room, right next to the polished mahogany table where they would sit. On the table, I placed the 2 thick, expensive envelopes containing the retirement papers and the scholarship acceptance, and the intimidating blue folder. I called Aunt Eleanor. I need you here, Auntie, as a witness. Wouldn't miss watching you cut the umbilical cord for the world, Clara. I'll be there at 6:30, with a nice Cabernet. At 7:05 p.m. Saturday, they arrived. Mom swept in, immediately criticizing my minimalist apartment. It's so cold, Clara. You need some color. Dad followed, looking defeated. Chloe trailed in last, still sullen and texting. And Eleanor was already seated, reading a book, a glass of wine in hand, looking like a queen holding court. Deborah, Gary, Chloe, sit down. The authority in her voice brooked no argument. They sat, eyes instantly locking on to the envelopes. I remained standing. Put the phone away, Chloe. She looked at Mom, who was too focused on the envelopes to offer support. Chloe reluctantly put the phone face down. We're here, I began, my voice empty of emotion, to discuss last Friday. Before we address the humiliation you claim to have suffered, I want to show you what you missed. I picked up the 2 envelopes. Chloe, this is a full-ride scholarship voucher to the New York School of Photography. Full tuition, housing, and stipend. Your dream school. Chloe gasped, her eyes widening. Mom and Dad, I continued, holding up the second, this is a full retirement savings book sufficient for the South Carolina cottage and 2 international trips every year for the next 20 years. Mom's hand twitched. But you chose the pink flamingo, a $3,150 tab, and you chose to call me an ATM? I set the envelopes down right in front of the paper shredder. I spent 6 months preparing these, Clara. Wait, Dad started. I wanted to give you your dreams so you could finally be proud of me. I tore open the retirement envelope. I pulled out the glossy booklet and the bank certificates. But you chose contempt over commitment. I fed the documents into the shredder. It roared to life, a horrifying mechanical chewing sound that filled the silent apartment. My mother made a strangled sound of horror as 30 years of luxury travel turned to confetti. What are you doing? Chloe shrieked. I picked up her scholarship envelope. This was your ticket to a real career, Chloe. Your chance to become something other than a parasite. I fed the acceptance letter into the shredder. Chloe screamed, a genuine, animalistic sound of pure loss. The whirring stopped. Both envelopes, 2 lifetimes of dreams, were shredded. Mom was staring at the shredded paper, her face pale and slack. Dad looked defeated, unable to process the destruction of their retirement. Chloe was openly sobbing, mascara running down her face. "You're destroying our futures over one mistake?" Mom whispered, the shock finally giving way to desperate anger. One mistake? I opened the blue folder, pulling out the calculated summary sheet. $254,000, I stated, reading the number aloud. That is the total amount I have paid for you 3 adults in the last 3 years, not including gifts, not counting the night I stayed up prepping a case to fund the party you skipped. I held up the lease agreement. This is Chloe's lease guarantee. I'm responsible for the $4,200 monthly rent for her lifestyle coaching business that made $2,100 last year. I paid $50,400 of rent for you, Chloe, so you could live in a trendy apartment and complain about having to work. Chloe tried to interrupt. I'm building a brand. I have to invest. You have 43 paying clients, I countered, laying the document down. And I paid your rent every single month. I picked up the supplementary credit card statements. Mom, Dad, you charged $47,000 on this card. You told me it was for family emergencies. Was the $800 designer handbag an emergency? Was the $1,200 spa weekend an emergency? Was the $3,150 resort party an emergency? Mom's face went crimson. You've always had more than us. You can afford it. Because I worked for it. 80-hour weeks, sacrificing every holiday, while you spent my money and resented me for earning it. Why weren't you there last Friday? Why wasn't celebrating my success worth 3 hours of your time? The silence was a damning confession. I placed the documents on the table and picked up the final 2 papers. This is the notice canceling all supplementary credit cards, effective immediately. The $3,150 from the Oasis is the last charge I will ever pay. Consider it severance. I set that down and picked up the last document. And this is the notice that I am withdrawing as guarantor on Chloe's lease. You have 30 days to find a new guarantor or move out. You can't do this, Chloe shrieked, leaping out of her chair. Where am I supposed to go? That is no longer my problem. Clara, please, Mom begged, finally sounding genuinely scared. We're family. You can't just abandon us. I looked at her, the woman who had only ever seen me as a financial solution. You abandoned me first. Last Friday, you made it crystal clear what you value. Not my success, not my happiness, but my bank account. I'm done being your ATM. I pointed a steady finger toward the door. Please leave. Dad stood up, defeated. Chloe was a mess of snot and tears. Aunt Eleanor rose from her chair, her presence reinforcing my command. They filed out in complete silence. At the door, Mom turned back, her eyes burning with malice. You will regret this, Clara. Family is forever. No, I replied, locking the door firmly behind them. Family is who shows up. You didn't. The apartment was instantly silent, save for the muffled sound of Chloe's hysterics fading down the hall. Aunt Eleanor walked over and pulled me into a tight, grounding hug. You did the right thing, Clara. I'm so incredibly proud of you. After she poured a heavy-handed glass of Cabernet, we sat in the quiet, and for the first time in years, I felt light. 1 month later, I was having coffee on a Tuesday morning when a notification popped up from Aunt Eleanor. Subject: read this. It was a link to his suburban community newsletter. The headline was, Local Family Seeks Community Support After Daughter's Cruel Abandonment. Mom had given a tearful interview, claiming I cut them off over a minor scheduling conflict, And there was a GoFundMe link asking for $50,000 to recover lost opportunities. The raised total was $410. I scrolled the comments with a dark satisfaction. Strangers weren't buying it. I saw the Windy City Watch video, Team Architect all the way. Imagine fumbling a senior partner celebration and then begging strangers for cash. The audacity. They had attempted public shaming. The internet delivered public mockery. They were no longer my burden. They were a viral cautionary tale. My afternoon included interviewing a new junior architect, Maya Chen. She was sharp, ambitious, and reminded me of myself before the cynicism set in. At the end of the interview, I pulled heavy, first edition architecture text from my shelf, my lucky charm. "Take this," I told her. "Someone once taught me to invest in people who share your vision, not just your bloodline. You have the vision, Maya. Use it well." She looked at the book like it was gold. "I won't let you down, Miss Vance." "I know you won't." I left the office at 6 p.m. and walked to an upscale Italian restaurant where Aunt Eleanor was waiting. She had already ordered my favorite red wine. "You look different," she noted, scanning my face for peace, not strain. "I feel different," I agreed, clinking my glass against hers. "Lighter." That's the weight of dead expectations falling off your shoulders. "To Clara Vance," she toasted, who stopped trying to buy love and started building a legacy. "To family," I corrected softly. "The real kind." As we ate, I looked out the window at the glittering Chicago skyline, the towers I helped design piercing the evening sky. My former family was out there somewhere, living with the natural consequences of their choices. Here, across from the only person who had never asked me for a dime, I was living with mine. Aunt Eleanor snagged the check before I could reach for my purse. "My treat," she said firmly. "You've paid enough." We walked out into the cool air, arm in arm. I didn't look back. The future belonged entirely to me now, and I was finally ready to build it.